laziest people I've met are Christian people. Lazy. They love miracles.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it does.
The world is moving at a very fast pace. Look around you, you'll see great men who have risen from nothing to something. You see men like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, you see men like Bill Gates, you see a whole lot of them who have risen from almost nothing to becoming the great men that we look up to. And if you turn to the other side of the world, you see the young ones in their 20s, early 30s, who are making waves, breaking the chains of financial freedom. They have risen to become overnight millionaires or overnight billionaires, whichever one you want to call them. And then it makes you wonder, should I discard this certificate? Because when you have a talk with some of these people, or when you read about some of these people, you don't see them coming from a place of being outstanding as children or in the academics. It makes you wonder if education should not be discarded. It makes you wonder if it's not becoming obsolete to get a degree in 2024 and beyond. Anyways, I'm here to argue. I'm here to I'm here to convince you and not to confuse you that education still remains the path to greatness. And I hope that with these few points of mine, I'll be able to convince you and not to confuse you that, hey, hold on, don't discard your certificate just yet. Don't get rid of the idea of getting educated or going to school just yet. So now let's set the ball rolling. The problem is that we do not understand what it means to get educated. We do not understand what it means to go to school. Getting educated does not mean that you must acquire a degree. It simply means going through a required training that you need to set the ball rolling for your future. It means going through the required training for you to bloom in your purpose. And the problem is that we have reduced getting educated to getting a degree. And this is why many people get degrees and they become disappointed. And after making a first class or making a 2-1, they are scrambling for the job opportunities with over 1 million people. Do you know why you're scrambling for a job? It's because you have not understood that the moment something becomes easy access, the value depreciates. For you to become exceptional in this time, you need to stand out in what you know. You need to upgrade your knowledge. You need to upgrade what you know. It's your knowledge and your skills that set you apart, not your degree. A lot of people are trying to stand out with that. Your degree does not set you apart because anybody can get a degree nowadays. So it does not set you apart. So if you are disappointed in your degree, well, maybe this video is for you. Now let's look at how God sees education. And I want to focus on two different characters in the Bible. Look at Moses. Moses became the writer of 5 major books in the Bible. He wrote the Genesis, the Exodus, the Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and the book of Job. You know what? Moses was supposed to be a slave, but there was something beautiful. The experiences that happened during the time of his birth and afterwards set him apart. You know why? Because he got the best education in the land of Egypt. He was a prince. He was adopted by the Pharaoh's daughter. So you can imagine a kind of education that he must have had. You think that God did not know that he needed to get educated? He knew he needed to get educated. So he put him there to become a prince so that he'll get the highest level of education whatsoever. And that was not the end. After getting educated the formal way, he needed to be trained. He needed to be trained because he was going to lead God's people out of the land of Egypt. And you know, training to be a leader is different from getting a degree. And this is where a lot of us miss out. He was going to be trained to be a leader. And what happens? He had to serve in the house of Jethro because leadership is all about service. There are lots of skills that you may never receive in the 4 walls of a university. There is no course that will teach you to be disciplined. There is no course that will teach you to have integrity. I don't know of a course who will teach you to be dependable, to be reliable, to stand for the truth at all times. These are skills that you must build. I don't think there is a course called Character 101. These are things that you must build as you continue to walk the journey of life. And these are things that God was going to equip Moses with, because he was training, he was raising not just the person, he was raising a leader. Another character I want to look at is the character of Daniel. I love how the Bible puts it that Daniel knew XYZ by books. Daniel was educated. He knew a lot of things about arts. He knew a lot of things about sciences for him to become exceptional. Even though the word of God lets us understand that he had the spirit of excellence, let me tell you something. God has to breathe on something. You cannot just live your life reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelation and you want to stand out. You cannot just live your life reading the Bible from Genesis to Exodus, Genesis to Revelation, because in your mind you believe that the Bible is still the best book. Hello, if you want to learn about finances, if you want to learn about investments, if you want to learn extensively about leadership, there are materials that you need to read other than the Bible. Bible is a book that should guide us. But if you want to get serious with life, there are other materials that you should source. There are other materials that you should expose yourself to that would stand you out. So that's it. I promised that I was going to talk about only two, but if I don't mention Joseph and the 12 disciples, this video will be incomplete. Joseph was a slave in Potiphar's house, and right in Potiphar's house, he acquired a degree in master. He acquired a degree in business administration, because at the time that the Pharaoh was going to summon Joseph to interpret his dream, Joseph already had the required knowledge to do business. He already had the skills that Pharaoh needed. So you see that God did not just bless him overnight. It was not an overnight success. He had gone through years of toiling. And I'm sure that in Potiphar's house, he must have learned the arts of service. He must have learned finances. He must have learned investments. Because if you read all through the life of Joseph, you would see that it was during his tenure that he built wealth for Pharaoh. He built wealth for the land of Egypt as a whole. So you see that he also had a required training. By the time Pharaoh would need his service, he was already groomed. He was already trained for whatever he was going to be needed for. He was a useful person. It was not just he did not just it was not an overnight success. And there was something Malcolm said about Christians. He said,
Laziest people I've met are Christian people. Lazy. They love miracles.
stop waiting for a miracle overnight. Train yourself. Get skills. There are skills that worked in 2020 that might be relevant in 2024 and beyond. Have foresight to know what's up. So, how about the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ? They sat at the master's feet for 3 years. They left everything they had and they sat at the master's feet for 3 years. What were they learning? They were learning the arts of service. They were learning the different tenets of faith, what it meant to have faith, walk with God, what it meant to have power, the power of the Holy Spirit, and all of those things. They learned at the master's feet. That is also a form of education. And why am I going too far? I love this trending movie titled Afamifuna, a War Boy story. You know, in the eastern parts of Nigeria, there is something called apprenticeship. I think it's not only the eastern part of Nigeria, it's also common among the Yorubas, but theirs might not be learning a trade. Theirs usually learning a skill like sewing, plumbing, fixing of a mobile gadget, and all of those things. All these people are getting trained in different areas where they hope to become experts in the near future. And you know, something very interesting I love about this art of learning a trade is that everything is going to be practical from start to finish. Unlike the only difference is that they're not writing a theoretical examination, but they are going through examinations every day, because the master or the trainer will be training them for to know if they have learned certain things like financial management. They're learning financial management, they are learning customer service, they're learning customer retention, they are learning a whole lot of things, and all these things are going to be practical. It's worse for them because they don't even have breaks. At least you who are going to school, you have breaks. You can even skip classes. These ones cannot skip classes. This is where they learn how to be disciplined. Whether you want to go or not, you have to be there. You have to be there. And sometimes, especially those ones who are learning to sew or who are learning to make hair, they are standing from morning till evening. They go back home with back pain and all sorts. The only holidays they have are public holidays like Christmas, like Christmas or maybe Easter celebrations. So you see that tr- education is not something you can scrap because it remains a pathway to greatness. Nobody is ordinary. God created you to fulfill a mandate. God created you to have a purpose. And for you to work in that purpose, you need to be trained for whatever it's going to be. If it's going to be a professional cook, you need to be trained as a cook. If you're going to become a professional baker, you need to go through a series of training. Even if you're going to be self-taught, you need to keep doing it. You need to keep doing it over and over again to become an expert in that field. So you see that education is not limited, is not restricted to what happens in the four walls of in the four walls of a university. It's not something that earns you a degree, a degree that you can see or hang on your wall. It's more about training. It's more about training. The major problem is that we have limited and restricted education to what we have in our minds. And I don't want this video to be so long, so in my next video I'll be talking about how you can develop yourself to become relevant in this time and age, what you can do to become relevant, to see that your value is does not suffer depreciation. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and drop a comment in the comment section. I want to read from you. I want to know what you think about it. Thank you.